some things arrive in a person's life with a quality that is different from everything that came before them. Not better in the competitive sense, not a ranking of experiences against each other on a scale where some win and some lose. Different in the way of something that has its own entirely separate category. That cannot be compared to what preceded it because the comparison itself is the wrong frame. That requires a completely new set of language and a completely new set of internal reference points because the old ones built from the old experiences simply do not map onto what this is. That is what is coming into your life right now, Virgo. Something that requires new language that will make you look back at the relationships that came before it, not with regret, not with the diminishing of what those things were and what they meant and what they taught you, but with the particular clarity of someone who can now see from the vantage point of having arrived at the real thing, the precise ways in which what came before was preparation rather than destination, was the necessary building of a person who was becoming ready for something they did not yet have the full capacity to receive. You have been building toward this your whole romantic life. Not consciously, not with this specific end point in mind, but every experience, every love that taught you something about what you needed, every connection that showed you what was possible, every heartbreak that grew you in the specific way that only heartbreak grows people. Every moment of choosing yourself, when choosing yourself was the hardest available option, has been contributing to the specific version of you who is now standing at the edge of the relationship that is going to be your best and your last. Best, last, both words together in the same sentence, describing the same relationship, the same person, the same love story that is either already beginning or about to begin in your life. Subscribe to this channel and drop the word last in the comments right now if something in those opening words landed with a weight that surprised you, if something recognized itself, if the deep knowing always been right part of you that Virgo always has access to felt the truth of what I am saying before your analytical mind had time to evaluate it. That part of you is right. It always is. And what it is recognizing right now is the approach of something it has been waiting for longer than you have been fully willing to acknowledge the waiting. Let me start with what best means, because best is a word that can be misunderstood, and I want to be precise about what I mean when I use it in the context of this reading. Best does not mean perfect. The relationship I am describing in these cards is not a frictionless, never difficult, everything is always easy relationship. Those do not exist, and the pretense that they do is one of the most damaging myths that romantic culture perpetuates. Real relationships, the best ones, the ones that last and grow and produce genuine lives rather than pleasant surfaces, have difficulty in them. Have moments of misunderstanding and moments of real conflict and moments where two genuinely different people with genuinely different needs have to do the genuinely hard work of choosing each other through the difficulty rather than simply when the difficulty is absent. The relationship I am describing will have that difficulty. What makes it best is not the absence of difficulty, but the quality of how the difficulty is navigated. The specific, particular, this is what distinguishes the real thing quality of two people who have both done enough internal work and developed enough genuine love for each other and enough genuine respect for what they are building together to choose each other through the hard moments rather than away from them. Best means it fits. The specific, finally, this is what actually fits quality of a connection that is not requiring either person to be smaller than they are, or to edit the parts of themselves that did not fit into previous connections. That has room for the full version of you, the complete, unedited, occasionally too much, sometimes not enough, completely individual and completely irreducible version. That does not require management of your depth or softening of your standards or apology for the specific, sometimes intense quality of how fully you are yourself. Best means it sees you in the specific, accurate, I have been paying the kind of attention that love pays way. Sees the Virgo that exists underneath a composed exterior, the richness of the interior life, the depth of the feeling that lives beneath the managed surface. The extraordinary capacity for loyalty and care, and the specific, thorough, no detail too small quality of love that Virgo offers when it offers it completely. Sees all of that and finds it not overwhelming or too much or difficult to be the recipient of, but exactly right. Exactly what they have been looking for, in the specific way that something can be exactly right without your ever having been able to describe it in advance. Best means you stop wondering. That is perhaps the most practical and the most significant definition. In the best relationship, the actual best, the one that is also the last doing, you stop doing the thing that every other relationship has required you to do in some degree, the monitoring, the recalibrating, the constant low-level assessment of where things stand and whether the ground is solid and whether what you feel is being returned in the quality and quantity that makes the feeling sustainable. You stop because the answer is consistently and demonstrably yes. And when the answer is consistently and demonstrably yes, the question eventually stops needing to be asked. You stop wondering. You simply are in the relationship, fully, without the half-present quality of someone who is always slightly holding something in reserve pending further information. Now, let me speak to last, because last carries its own weight and its own implications, and I want to address it directly rather than let it sit unexamined. Last means chosen. Repeatedly, deliberately, with full awareness of what the choosing requires. Not chosen once in a moment of feeling and then maintained by inertia. Actively, continuously, in the specific, ongoing way of two people who are both doing the work of choosing each other every day, who understand that the last relationship is last not because it has been locked into permanence by some external force, but because both people keep choosing it, keep investing in it, keep doing what is required to make the choosing the right choice continuously rather than only in the beginning. Last means built. Something that gets constructed over time between two people who are both bringing real material to the building, who are both contributing the specific, genuine, completely personal things they have to offer, their care, their attention, their honesty, their willingness to be fully seen, their commitment to showing up not just when it is easy, but when it requires something. The last relationship is the one where both people are building the same thing in the same direction with genuine investment in the outcome. Last means grown into. You are not yet the full version of the person you will be in this relationship. That is not a criticism. It is simply true of anyone at the beginning of something that is going to require growth from them. The last relationship, the best one, is the one that calls out of you the version of yourself that has not yet fully emerged. That creates the specific conditions in which the parts of you that have been compressed or unexpressed or waiting for the right environment find both the safety and the encouragement to fully come into being. You are going to grow into yourself in this relationship, into the most complete version of who you are, the version that your whole life has been preparing and that has been waiting without your fully knowing it for exactly the conditions this connection is going to create. And last means chosen as the destination, not the stopover, not the significant but temporary. The place where the journey ends, not because there is nothing more available, but because this is where you want to be. Where both of you have found what you were looking for and have decided with full information and genuine freedom that what you have found is the answer to the question your romantic life has been asking. Let me tell you about the person. The specific, particular person who is either already in your life or moving into it right now, who carries this potential, because the best and last relationship does not exist in the abstract. It exists between two specific people, and one of those people is you, and the other is someone the cards are showing me with increasing clarity as I sit with your energy. This person has depth, real depth, not the performed depth of someone who has learned to present intellectual or emotional complexity as an appealing quality, but the genuine depth of someone who has a rich and active interior life that informs everything they do, who thinks seriously about things, who feels things fully, who has a relationship with their own interior that produces real self-knowledge rather than comfortable self-story. That depth is the thing that is going to allow this relationship to go to the places it needs to go, because depth recognizes depth. Because the specific, rich, complex interior life that Virgo carries, the one that most relationships have only partially accessed, requires someone who has the genuine depth to meet it. And this person does. They have the capacity to receive the full version of you rather than the partial version, to hold the complete picture without being overwhelmed by it, to find in the wholeness of who you are, not too much, but exactly enough. This person has integrity, the kind that is demonstrated in behavior over time rather than declared in words in impressive moments. The kind that shows up in the small choices, the ones that no one is watching, the ones that do not produce any external reward, the ones that are simply expressions of who a person actually is when the performance is not required. You are going to be able to trust this person, not blindly. Trust is not blind, but genuinely on the basis of consistent evidence with the specific confidence of someone who has watched another person choose correctly enough times in enough different contexts to know what their character actually is. This person chooses you actively, not passively, actively, with the specific intentionality of someone who understands what they have and who does not take it for granted. Who makes you feel chosen, not just in the beginning, but in the middle and in the ordinary and in the difficult and in every phase that a long and real relationship moves through. The choosing is not a one-time event that is then assumed to be understood. It is something they return to, something they demonstrate, something they bring to you in the small, specific, completely personal ways that mean more than any grand gesture because they are rooted in knowledge of who you actually are. Let me speak to what the relationship feels like from the inside. The specific daily, this is what it is like quality of being in the best and last rather than in the good for now or the almost right or the this is the best available. It feels like home, not the childhood home nostalgia version of that, the other kind, the kind you build yourself, the specific created, this is the place I have made quality of somewhere that fits because you made it fit, where everything is arranged for the actual people living in it rather than for some generic version of people, where the comfort is not the comfort of familiarity that requires no engagement, but the deeper comfort of being exactly where you are supposed to be, with exactly the person you are supposed to be with, and knowing it in the specific, full body, not available to be argued with way of something that is simply true. It feels like expansion, not in the you have to grow yourself quality of relationships that require you to become someone different. In the you get to grow more fully into yourself quality of relationships that create the conditions for the truest version of you to emerge. You are going to find in this relationship that parts of yourself that have been waiting for the right environment, parts that have been present but unexpressed, parts that have been compressed by previous relationships that did not have room for them, begin to emerge, begin to take up space, begin to be expressed in the full and complete form that they deserve. And the expression is not going to feel risky the way it has felt risky before. It is going to feel welcomed, received, met with the genuine interest and the genuine appreciation of someone who finds the full version of you more compelling than any partial version. It feels like peace, not the dull peace of nothing happening. The rich, active, completely alive peace of someone who is fully in the right place and knows it. The specific absence of the low-level anxiety that has characterized previous romantic situations, the monitoring, the wondering, the subtle, constant assessment of the ground beneath you, that anxiety goes quiet, not all at once, gradually, as the consistent evidence accumulates, as the choosing keeps being demonstrated, as the trust builds on the basis of real and repeated proof. But it goes quiet, and what replaces it is a quality of settled aliveness that you have not previously had consistent access to in a romantic context. And it feels like joy. The specific, recurring, not dependent on special circumstances, joy of someone who is living the life they are actually supposed to be living with the person they are actually supposed to be living it with. The joy of the ordinary made extraordinary, not by drama, but by the company, by the specific person sitting across from you in the mundane moments, who makes the mundane moments worth being fully present for. Let me speak to what you bring to this. Because the best and last relationship requires the full version of you, and I want to name what the full version of you offers to someone who is ready to receive it. You bring thoroughness, the specific, completely Virgo quality of loving completely, of noticing everything, of caring in the detailed, attentive, no dimension of another person's experience too small to matter way that is one of the rarest and most sustaining things a person can offer someone they love. The person who loves you in the best and last is going to be consistently, specifically, daily loved by someone who is paying the kind of attention that most people never receive from anyone, who is known in the full sense, who is seen in the small things as well as the significant ones, whose particular preferences and needs and moments of difficulty and moments of joy are all held by someone who has made the full picture of who they are, their genuine concern. You bring loyalty, the deep, not available to be shaken by circumstance kind, the loyalty of someone who, once genuinely committed, does not redirect, does not drift, does not hold an exit strategy in reserve, who brings to the relationship the complete investment of a person who has decided and who does not revisit the decision every time things are difficult. That loyalty in a world where it is genuinely rare and genuinely precious is one of the most significant things you offer, and it deserves to be offered to someone who has the character to both deserve it and reciprocate it. You bring honesty, the specific, direct, this is what is actually true honesty that Virgo carries as a fundamental operating principle that refuses to smooth over the real things in favor of comfortable fiction, that insists on addressing what is actually happening rather than the pleasant version of what is happening. That honesty in the right relationship, in the best and last, is not a source of friction. It is a foundation. Two people who are both committed to honesty build something that has more structural integrity than anything built on comfortable avoidance. And you bring yourself the complete, fully inhabited, all dimensions present version of a person who has done significant work on themselves and who is arriving at this relationship as the most complete version of Virgo they have yet been. Not finished, no one is ever finished, but more fully formed, more genuinely self-knowing, more honestly in possession of who they are and what they need and what they have to offer than at any previous point. That version of you is the version this relationship deserves. And that version is who you are right now. What does the arc look like? What do these cards show me about the long shape of the best and last, the story, not just of its beginning, but of how it builds and deepens and becomes more itself over the years that follow? What I see is deepening, the specific quality of something that does not plateau after the initial intensity of beginning, but that continues to find new dimensions, new things to understand about each other, new territory to explore in the conversation, that a good long relationship is the ongoing, never finished, always developing conversation of two people who are genuinely interested in each other over a long timeline. The deepening is not drama. It is the quieter and more sustaining kind of development, the accumulation of shared experience, of navigated difficulty, of chosen each other through it, that builds a specific kind of intimacy that is not available at the beginning of things and only arrives through the long, committed, both of us doing the work middle. What I see is partnership in the fullest sense. Two people who are genuinely on the same side, not performing togetherness or maintaining a dynamic or navigating a constant negotiation of competing needs. Actually, fundamentally, completely on the same side, where your wins are their wins and your struggles are something they want to help carry, and where the combined capacity of two people who are genuinely allied is larger than anything either of you could produce alone. What I see is a life, not a relationship that exists alongside your life, but a relationship that becomes part of the fabric of it, that is woven into the ordinary, the decisions, the days, the small moments, and the significant ones in the specific way of something that is genuinely integrated rather than compartmentalized. A life that is simply different, better, richer, more fully inhabited because this person is in it and because you have chosen to build something real with them. One last thing. The thing I have been moving toward for this entire reading, and that wants to be said in the most direct language available: you have earned this, not as a transaction, not because you have suffered enough or waited long enough or done enough work to be rewarded, but in the sense of having become, through everything you have lived and everything you have learned and everything you have built and rebuilt inside yourself through the various experiences of your romantic life, the person who is ready to fully receive and fully inhabit the best and last. Every previous relationship, even the difficult ones, especially the difficult ones, contributed something, built something in you, showed you something about what you needed and what you would not accept, and what genuine love actually requires as distinct from what passes for it. All of it has been preparation, not punishment, preparation. And the preparation is complete. You are ready, more ready than you have been at any previous point, more genuinely yourself, more honestly self-knowing, more clearly in possession of what you need and what you deserve and what you are willing to build with the right person. The right person is here or arriving. Close enough that these cards are describing them with the specific, confident, this is not potential, this is real quality of something that is already in motion, rather than something that merely might be. The best relationship of your life is beginning, and it is the last one you will need, because it is going to be everything that last actually means: chosen, built, grown into, and kept with the daily, deliberate, both people doing the work, commitment of two people who have found what they were looking for and who have the wisdom and the character and the genuine love to hold on to it. Hold on to it, Virgo, with everything you have. It is the one worth holding.